Welcome to the Ask April Porter podcast, where franchisee performance meets real-world business strategy. I'm April Porter, attorney, former judge and multi-unit franchisee, and the authority on franchisee performance. Each week, I share actionable insights, proven strategies, and inspiring conversations with top entrepreneurs and franchise leaders, all to help you grow your franchise or small business to achieve what I call swag: sanity, wealth, and gratitude. Success without sacrifice. To claim your swag, apply these hard-earned lessons from seasoned entrepreneurs. We're going to do that now. Let's dive in. Now, I know all of you have heard enough about AI. You're probably sick about hearing about AI, but yet we still don't feel confident in how to use AI and or competent in really everything there is to know about AI. And this week we have a guest that's going to help us with that. Jenna Nelson is a nationally recognized AI strategist and advisor, helping founders simplify growth through intentional AI adoption, automation, and modern visibility. Her approach focuses on clarity, ethical AI use, and real-world application. Now, if you're a listener of this show, you know I am all about ethics. We talk about that a lot in the context of franchising in general. AI, it's a hot and button topic, and we can't wait to get into it here with Jenna. Welcome, Jenna. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So tell us just really briefly about how you got into AI.
Yeah. So, truthfully, if you'd told me 3 or 4 years ago that I would be running an AI strategy company, I would have looked at you like you were crazy. My background comes from brand strategy, digital marketing, and that was really what I've been doing for decades now. And then truly just, when generative AI started to become, more popular, really, starting to be on our daily radar, I started just trying to integrate it into my own business and my own workflows. I very much remember Googling, like, what is ChatGPT? And that was, 3 or 4 years ago now, and really just trying to figure it out myself. And then after I saw the value in my own business and what I was doing on a daily basis, I started, with some of my existing clients, just really implementing it for them and in ways that helped, the efforts that we were already doing just, be that much quicker, easier, be able to put out more information. So that's really, where it started. And then really about 2 years ago, just kind of doubled down on the true AI implementation concept, because there really weren't a lot of people, particularly in the female founded, women owned business space, kind of standing up and saying, like, I'm going to figure this out for all of us, and I'm going to, kind of help you do this. So really just kind of went all in on that about 2 years ago now. And so that's entirely what we focus on now, but certainly still through like a brand strategy lens as well.
So I as well am a female that's kind of at the, I guess, front of the race on getting to know and understand AI, at least in
Sure,
the franchising space.
sure.
So last year in January, I think was the first time I was asked to be on an AI panel and really talk to people about how we were using AI and the applications that we saw, which are more than even we have implemented currently,
Sure.
because and it's changing so fast. That is one of the things that I think is difficult for smaller agencies that are trying to adapt AI and help help other small business owners who don't have the bandwidth,
Sure.
to learn all the AI stuff.
Sure.
It it is a critical piece to have someone in your corner because it's changing so fast that if you have a business, if your business was childcare and you're looking about getting more children enrolled and doing your local marketing and making sure you're hiring good, reliable employees and everything that it takes to run that business, you don't
Absolutely.
have time to stay up on all the AI evolution that is continuously happening.
Absolutely. It's a full-time job just trying to stay on top of all of that information coming in. And there is a shiny new object. There is a new tool every 5 minutes right now. And it truly would be impossible for any, small business owner to be on top of this all of the time. I'm in this all day, every day, and it's hard for me to stay on top of it. And I'm not running a childcare business or a law firm or something else of that nature. Yeah, I absolutely really recommend, that someone, whether you're a small business, small agency, partner with someone who can, kind of be that guiding force and help you with that implementation, because it's just not necessarily the right use of time for most business owners.
Yeah, but it's such an essential thing to get
Hmm.
into as well
It
as
is.
a small business owner. And we work with a lot of small business owners, that are in a position where they're afraid to invest in things for a lot
Absolutely.
of different reasons. It
Sure.
might be that they're working on building their revenue and don't feel like they have a lot of extra to invest in things. It could also be that they've made investments in the past and gotten burned by them. They did not
Absolutely.
pan out and did not work the way that they should. And I feel like AI is a different ball of wax than we've really ever encountered in small business because it's an investment that gives people back what actually most small business owners really want more than anything, which is time. And so it's an investment that you may not see a tangible ROI on it immediately,
Hmm.
but if you can redirect the time you save into growth
Right.
activities, it is going to provide you with the best employee you've ever had because potentially it could be like you, right?
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. I think also there's a real risk of not implementing it either. I do a lot of educating, in this space, and I talk to, people all the time. And I'm like, I understand the fears around putting AI into your business. I understand, there's a lot of bad information out there. There's a lot of AI going rogue sometimes. So I understand those fears, but I kind of weight that against what is the opportunity cost of not starting to implement, because it may feel okay right now to not have AI in your business. It will not feel okay in 2 years from now. And your competitors are going to get so far ahead of you because they are able to, like you said, use their time for revenue growth or working on, new products, new services. And that competitive advantage that they're going to have from having adopted it earlier than you have is going to be felt very hard in the coming months, years, as we move forward in this kind of new world order. So that's something, I talk about a lot is, this is change management at its finest. That's really what we're doing here. And if you are resistant to that for too long, it is going to put you a lot further behind than, potentially some of your competitors.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And in the beginning, I think we saw a lot of people just kind of stubbornly saying, like, well, I'm not going to use AI
Right.
because, and like taking these ethical stances, like, well,
Sure.
it's not
Sure.
ethical and it's going to put people out of jobs and all of the
Right.
almost like a self righteousness around,
Totally.
I'm not going to use it, and it's like, you know, I appreciate that you have principles, but this is not the hill to die on because it is not going anywhere. It is going to change the face of business, of labor, of things we can't even imagine yet. And you really need to ask yourself, where do you want to be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? And if the answer is, I still want to be a leader in my community, I want my business to be thriving, I want to supply the, first in class service to my customers, then you're going to have to be proficient in AI.
Absolutely. Yes. Agreed. 100%.
I do see some things I mean, of course, and like we said, it's changing constantly. There's stuff in the news every single day, but there's a lot in the news right now about the threats of AI and not
Sure.
even like the Terminator threats, which, you know, who knows? Anything's possible. I think that
Sure.
that's what AI is showing us, is that
Yeah.
truly a world we'd never imagined is potentially possible.
Right.
But more substantially, there's a lot of things happening right now in regards to what about your intellectual property and copyright and trademark when you are using models, and we're not talking about workflows, which I probably should slow down. So those of you listening who haven't dabbled into AI yet, there's lots of different ways to use AI. So Jenna, you mentioned workflows, and that's one of the things that you help people. Can you explain a little bit about what that means? Give an example of how you might help a small business owner in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is really what that boils down to is automating processes that already exist in your business. One thing that I always, tell people is I don't want to take a broken process or a process that isn't already working the way we want it to and try to interject AI. That's only going to expose the bigger problem and it's only going to make things worse. Where these AI powered workflows are incredibly effective is if there is a manual, repeated process in your business that you are doing all of the time or your employee is doing all the time, certainly if it's something that a founder is doing that they probably don't need to be doing, those are the right use cases for these AI workflows. Anything that has a repeatable process that we can get as a specific set of instructions and expect a machine to follow, that is a great use case for this. So, examples might be automating weekly blog posts or newsletters based on the news and events in your industry, right? Instead of somebody going through and manually, searching all of the calendars and news and outlets for what it is that you do, your niche, we can have, that information scraped and compiled and given to you in a digest format. Here are the top 10 things that happened in the electronic space or the plumbing space or whatever it might be. And then, and that could be the whole workflow, right? Just that could be a huge time saver versus somebody manually clicking through, trying to read through all of this. That could be as far as it goes. We can then take it, even a step further and we can take all of that information and we can predefine, what our newsletters look like, what the tone is, what kind of tidbits we like to include. And we can have it pre-draft that email for you. And then again, I'm a big fan of interjecting, humans into the loop along these phases. So that's the point where I would want, human eyes on it to check it, make sure that, there are tweaks that need to be made, or maybe to intentionally interject some things that are a little more human led, like personal anecdotes or stories, things like that. But we can automate that whole workflow to the point that, instead of spending hours a week manually combing through all this information and then handwriting these emails, well, now we can have a draft just sitting in your inbox, ready for you to proofread, and out it goes. So that's a really simple one, but that's kind of a good example of it can be as small as getting you the information to as thorough as sending it out and everything in between.
So, given that your background started in marketing, is that
Mhm.
where you're seeing the most use cases right now, is in the marketing channel of business, doing things like blog posts, newsletters, social media posting?
The most effective. I think there's certainly use cases for operational, use cases as well. But certainly, I think marketing processes are a great opportunity to improve your speed and the amount of content you can put out. It takes so much more content in 2026 to stay visible than it ever used to. So this is a way to get stuff out faster, potentially. So I think it's super effective for those marketing workflows. I think it's really effective for internal workflows as well, and that's something to consider as well. And I typically, with a new client, start with, let's put this, into place internally first and get comfortable using it. get it to understand our brand, our business, our customers, and then let's start, looking at ways to integrate it on a client facing basis. But yeah, I think marketing is certainly one of the strongest use cases because so much of this already was very manual, but also very repeated.
So for a small business owner who's, hearing this and like, oh, wait, there's someone who could actually figure out how to use AI in my business and then basically architect how to use it and then just plug it and play. What what kind of investment could they expect to need in order to get someone like you to help them?
I think that's all over the map, and it depends on how customized you need your system to be, and also how well trained you need it to be. If we're talking about just an intake bot on your website, for example, that's going to collect basic information, name, email, reason that they're contacting, that exists in so many different ways out there. That's an easily replicated thing per business. So, right, like that's a very inexpensive entry point. On the flip side, if you need an entirely custom built system that's going to, match clients to a specific area or a specific team member, you need it to route them to the right department, then that gets, a lot more complicated. So, I would truly say as an entry point, I think that somebody who is just getting their feet in the water could easily make a significant difference in their business with as little as a couple $100s. And then obviously, the sky's the limit. But I don't want there to be an impression that like this is going to cost 10 grand to put a simple workflow into my business. It might have 3 years ago. We're past that now, and it's only going to get more efficient and more affordable as time goes on.
Yeah. Well, and I do think that that holds a lot of people back because their
Sure.
only experience with integrating new technology into their business is that it's been very expensive. It's been hard. Like there's a lot of options. So it takes me a long time if I'm truly going to vet the different options and figure out which CRM I'm going to go with. And
Sure.
then when I make that decision, getting it even set up to with my URLs and like all of that takes so much time. And even though AI is completely different, people who haven't ventured, into it, into the deep end with it, they don't have a context. And so they're drawing upon past experiences. And another one of those experiences is that it's very expensive. Technology is expensive. And AI really busts all of those myths when you get into it. And definitely if you can have someone like holding your hand or kind of like helping guide you and saying, hey, you don't really need ABC. This all you need to do is this, right? um and I think that those are some things that maybe business owners still aren't quite aware of beyond just using an LLM as, a question and answer tool.
Yeah, and I think we touched on this a bit, earlier, but truly this is an investment that is going to pay you back tenfold. You're going to get that time back. That's going to allow you to do more. You might be able to combine several marketing roles, for instance, into one marketing role. That is a significant cost savings for your business. So I do want it to, while certainly, CRMs and heavy software tools like that are really important, sometimes those can just feel like, it's a monthly subscription and you need it, but it may not, I mean, like QuickBooks, for instance, right? Like we all need that accounting software, but is it necessarily like helping us make more money? Not necessarily, but do we need it for our taxes and our bank? Sure. But is it really contributing to our bottom line? Probably not. On the flip side of this, AI can absolutely contribute to your bottom line and can absolutely increase your revenue and reduce expenses. So I kind of want to separate that, between this just being a piece of software versus this is something integrated into your business that is going to give back to you in the long run in both, time, money, all of it.
So before we get off here, I'd love to know like what is your top AI tool or go-to platform that you like to work with to build out some of these business enhancing um, services for your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a huge fan. We use one in our agency called MindPal. And what that does is you can build agents, you can build chatbots, but you can build really customized workflows. And you can build very robust workflows. Like, I mean, this agent can do 12 different things, including, create the image for the blog post and do the SEO work. We can really add multi-steps within it. So we build a lot of very custom agents and tools using the MindPal platform. And it's a little bit of a complicated process to set it up, but once it's done, it contributes so much to the end result. So MindPal is one that I highly recommend, either trying to set up yourself, trying to learn, or at least taking to a strategist or an implementer and saying, this is the kind of thing that I want, and I've heard about this platform, could we use this, because it has so much functionality.
Well, you are a wealth of knowledge and definitely jumped in at the right time, not
Yeah,
only for your own business, but to be a leader for
absolutely.
others.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. Yep. We're in the gold rush era, if you will, of AI. So it's a fun place to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if people wanted to learn more, Jenna, about how they might be able to partner with you to help
Mhm.
them build a workflow or just get more information in general, how would they do that?
Absolutely. So definitely, check out my website. I also on there, I have one of these tools. It's called a growth strategy advisor, but it will actually take you through some of these types of processes and kind of assess where you're at and what's possible. So that's a really great kind of entry point for everyone, and a good way to kind of get your hands around what it could look like. And then I'm also on YouTube, and I do a lot of just really short. I'm not into the 2-hour AI boot camps. These are like 10, 15-minute, this is something you can learn as a business owner and put into your business today that's going to help. And I think as you start, putting those little pieces in place and learning it, it helps kind of open you up to the broader possibilities. So certainly check that out if you're just I don't even know where to start or what to start with. Pick one of these little 15-minute tutorials and, kind of see the change on the other side. And I think that'll encourage you to want to, use it more in your business.
So is your website just jennanelson.com?
Nope. It's heraigency.com. So
Her.
HERAIGENCY. Yep.
Okay. And same for your YouTube
Same thing
channel?
on YouTube. Yep.
Okay, great. Well,
Yeah.
thanks so much, Jenna. It's been a pleasure having you as a guest here
Thank
on our
you.
show. And we look forward to seeing all of your success in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ask April Porter podcast. If you found value in today's episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow franchisees and small business owners. To access the resources I mentioned during this episode, check out our show notes.